Hello, Professor. This is Carol Biglar, and I'm happy to be doing my last project with this course. I've learned a lot and appreciated the course very much. The client I'm going to be working with is Vanessa. She's an 18-year-old girl whose family has divorced, and that has happened in the last 3 years. Vanessa has been living with her mom, and she recently moved in with her dad. She did this when she got into a fight with her mom's live-in boyfriend, and he pushed her. The night that happened, Vanessa's mom asked the boyfriend to leave. He went out into the driveway, slept in the car, and was allowed back into the house the next day. When this happened, Vanessa uh, went to live with her dad. Since the divorce, Vanessa has been closer to her mother rather than her father. Her father said it was okay to live with him, but he's not really around a lot. And also, Vanessa's mother and father do not speak with each other, and they are very much at odds with each other. Vanessa has spoken about feeling very torn and had been feeling forced to choose between the two of her parents. Vanessa has had a crisis and ended up at the psychiatric evaluation screening service at a local hospital after her friends called the police. Vanessa was at a party in which her boyfriend Joe broke up with her, and she was very, very upset. Her friends were concerned for her safety and asked the police to go to her house and check on her. When the police got to her house, they found her still upset, and they saw superficial cuts on her wrist. So they felt that Vanessa was in danger, and they brought her into the hospital. Vanessa spent 5 days in the hospital, um, regaining health and strength. And so this session that I'm going to do with her is the first session after I worked with her a little bit in the hospital. Uh, so some of the things that I want to help Vanessa to realize are these things. I want her to realize that trauma is behind mental problems such as suicide. Perry and Salovitz refer to this in chapter 11, and it's important for her to realize that trauma um, is something that needs to be processed so that she can gain equilibrium and help get the help she needs after making a suicide attempt, however superficial it was. I want her to know that recovery from trauma, especially in her family situation, would be through rebuilding trust with each other, um, rebuilding relationships, rebuilding trust, being able to feel secure and be feeling loved by her mom and her dad. Um, Perry and Salovitz talk about this in their chapter 11 also. I want Vanessa to see that the trauma of her parents' divorce and the argument with her mother's boyfriend and her mother's lack of support after that argument and her relation to her breakup with Joe is connected. This is in keeping with Rothschild's teaching that implicit and explicit memory need to be integrated into a story so that that can be processed. within her mind and through her emotions and her body. Um, and that how she's been feeling in her body is related to the trauma of her parents' divorce and the fight she had with her mom's boyfriend. I want Vanessa, I want to check to see if Vanessa realized how alone she might be feeling after her mom didn't support her after the fight with her boyfriend. And I think it's not unreasonable for Vanessa to experience the lack of her mom's support as rejection. And Van der Kolk says that when we experience rejection from people that we expect to receive nurture and support from is very, very traumatic, and it stays with us. And sometimes we don't realize that um, this kind of trauma that we experience plays forward into what we experience now. And so Van der Kolk really believes that past trauma and current events are connected. And he talks about that in chapter 13. Rothschild also points out that the kind of help a person receives after trauma really um, influences how well a person recovers from trauma. And in Vanessa's case, she did not receive much support at all. As a matter of fact, the family didn't talk at all about the divorce, and there was no any kind of counseling or follow-up support for anybody in the family. So this is the way I would approach Vanessa as I work with her um, this morning. I apologize, I'm trying to make the light better for you. So, sorry. Okay. Hi Vanessa, I'm very glad to see you today. And I'm really, really excited about the progress that you've made um, so far. And we've been working together very nicely, and I just really see your strength and your courage shining through here. How are you feeling about that? Are you feeling good about that? Yeah, yeah, and you should. That's really very good. Okay, so we spent some time processing your stay at the hospital and your actions surrounding the breakup with Joe. And you have told me that you're feeling stronger and you're more able to work on accepting what has happened between you and Joe. Is that right? Is that still the case? Okay. Okay. So I'm wondering now if we could work on this from a little bit of a different angle, um, and maybe think about some things that we haven't thought about uh, before. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. So if at any time you feel like this is a little bit too much for you, or you're getting a little uncomfortable, you can just maybe um, raise your hand, and then we can stop. I want you to know that we have as much time as we need to work through um, what has happened together. There's no rush with anything. So, uh, but I do think that it would be great to think a little bit about some of the things that have gone on for you over the past 3 or 4 years and how they might be connected. Is that okay? Okay. Okay. So I am thinking about connectivity. Okay, sometimes when we find ourselves overwhelmed to the point where we get to a very dark place, we have trouble understanding how we got there and um, how we're going to get out of it. Okay, and you've told me in the past that you've had a few boyfriends that you've broken up with, and yes, it was upsetting, but you were able to process it and move on. Is that right? Yeah. Well, I'd like to go over how some events that have happened in your recent past may be influencing some of the hard situations that you're experiencing now. Um, you know, some of the things that have happened over the last few years may be making it more hard for you to deal with things that are happening in the here and now, such as Joe breaking up with you. Well, how are you feeling about that? Is that okay? Are you okay to continue with this? Yeah? Okay. Okay. So then we'll keep going. That's good. Let's take a deep breath. And, we're all fine here and we're safe and we're good to go, right? Okay. Okay. So when something really upsetting happens to us, we react emotionally, physically, and we react mentally. Um, we might get angry, we might get discouraged, we are upset. That's emotion. Physically, we might, lose sleep, we might feel terrible, we might feel a knot in our stomach, things like that. Mentally, we might have trouble focusing, um, we might just kind of, or we might zone out and just kind of daydream a little bit just to take a break. I think you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Did you? Those kinds of things have come up, right? Yeah, yeah. So we know that our whole body reacts to upsetting things, and so that's one thing to keep in mind as we go forward here. So um, when we receive support from our loved ones, when we have a traumatic event, all those things that we have to deal with, the physical, the emotional, the mental reaction, when we have a good support system, it really, really helps us to process that in a good way and get past it. Um, we might talk together, we might cry together, we might even, you know, we might let each other know that no matter what, we're going to be here for each other. It might be hard, but we're going to stick together and we're going to get through it. Things like that. Those are the kinds of support that we really need after a traumatic event or something that's really upsetting us. And it's also important that our relationship with our loved one remains strong. That in the middle of the pain that we're feeling, we still feel loved, and we know that we will be there for each other as much as we can be. But sometimes in divorce, that doesn't happen, especially when people are really, really hurting. And from what I know of your situation, your family's situation, in the divorce, you all were hurting and you weren't able to support one another. Does that sound right? Yeah, yeah. And it may be that pain that you experienced in divorce has been carried over and has played a big part in your reaction to Joe breaking up with you. Are you okay with that? That kind of thought? Yeah, you feel a little, you, it kind of rings a bell with you. But how are you feeling? Are you okay with thinking about that? Okay, good. You've really made a lot of progress. You've done a lot of personal work, and it shows now that you're able to talk about this. And that's really great. Okay, so um, I really want to work on that with you over um, a period of time. I'd like to go slow so that we make sure that it, in going over it, you're able to process it at the pace that you need so that it's a healing experience for you. And so that's what I'd like to do with you. So are you okay with that? Would you like to do that? Well, okay, so let's set up our next appointment and we'll talk about it then, okay? Thank you.